I'm currently in Vero Beach, Florida.
Ooh, it's warm there.
It's super warm.
That's nice because it's cold here. We got snow. We got crazy stuff, crazy weather.
I'm currently in Vero Beach, Florida.
Ooh, it's
Okay,
warm
hold
there.
on.
I'm
It's
52
super
miles south
warm.
of
That's
there.
nice because it's cold here. We got snow. We got crazy stuff, crazy weather.
I'm
That's
currently
good to
in
know I don't sound like a crazy freak just yet with my sound. That's good.
Okay, are we ready?
Hmm.
Okay, thank you. I think we're going live on YouTube. I'll find out later. Okay. All right, we're gonna let everyone in. Oh, we've got two Doloreses in there today. Beautiful. Hello, hello, ladies. Hi. Hi, Lolly. Nice to see you, love. Hi, Dolores. Hi, Sarah. How are you ladies doing? Welcome. Thank you for coming here today. Sarah and Dolores, we've got two Doloreses. Thank you, Loli, for changing that. That makes it easier. I already know you, so I thank you for being here. Thank you for coming on camera. Sarah and Dolores, I'm not sure if I know either of you, and if you don't know me, my name is Melissa Wendell, and I just welcome you for being here today. And if you feel brave, I always say a brave space creates a safe space. And so if you feel like being brave and coming on camera, we would love to see your beautiful face. Makeup, no makeup, PJs, I'm here for it. Um, and I would love to welcome you each. If you feel like at any point, if you have a question, you can raise your virtual hand, you can raise your physical hand, you can put, hi, Dolores. Nice to see
Hello.
you.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing great. I'm Loli's mom.
Oh my gosh, get
So I know
out!
you.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, it's such a gift to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Thank you for birthing your beautiful daughter. I love her.
I do too.
Oh, I also forgot. Here we go. Beautiful. Well, nice to have you on here, Dolores.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here as well.
Thank you. So if at any point you guys have any questions for any one of us, please, you can either raise your hand, virtual hand, physical hand, or you can put it in the chat and we can read it and answer it as we go. And that also goes for all the speakers here today. You can either answer live or respond in the chat, whatever feels in the moment. But let me just give you a little bit idea of how it flows. First, I would like to welcome you. Today is Ecstatic Love, Magnetizing your wealth, your love, and your miracles, because it all starts right here. In who you are and how you're vibrating and how you're feeling here literally creates your entire experience in your world and everything that touches. And it becomes your little magnet. It's your little heartthrob that like pulls in the flower and the nectar and the honeys and the bees. So that's what we're here today. We're here to sweeten up our nectar and call in exactly what it is that we're wanting today. And then I'm going to introduce each of our speakers. We're going to ask some amazing questions, and then each of the speakers also have a free gift at the end. If you guys would love to stay and see what they're offering, you might get something juicy in there. So to start off, I would love to invite and introduce you guys to Katie. Katie is a master energy and embodiment coach, and she's the founder of the Shakti Bomb Way. And Katie, would you like to share a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Earlier today, I just have to say, first of all, it's so nice to be here with everybody, and it's nice to see your beautiful faces. I was doing an interview earlier today, and the woman that read my bio was doing like gestures. She like acted out my bio, and it was so funny. She was like, and she likes to smash boxes, and she did this whole like embodied journey while reading my bio, and I was like, yes, that's it. That is amazing. I've never seen that. Thank you. So that gives you just a taste of who I am and what I'm about as Melissa. So graciously introduced about me. My name is Katie. I am a master energy and embodiment coach, and I'm the creator of what I call the Shakti Bomb Way, which is basically a system that allows you to become more fully present in your body, to work with your emotions, to process stuck emotions, trauma, and most importantly, give you the power to manifest and create what you want from the inside out. So Very much about guiding you back into who you are, reminding you that you are the one in the driver's seat. You are sort of the creator of your reality. And as it does say in my bio, one of the things I love is teaching people how to, I can act it out, smash boxes and expand. It's so cheesy, but it's so much fun. Expand into the person that you are designed to be. Obviously, lots of fun. And I'm just so grateful to be here and full of vigor and vim and vigor tonight. I brought my boxing gloves for you.
I love that, Katie. Thank you. I'm totally into the boxing gloves right now. And then Ambika, would you like to share a little bit about yourself? So Ambika is a mind tamer, and she is also she has 47 years of experience, and she has written 6 books and she is a best-selling, award-winning international author, and she's a master yoga teacher, and the list goes on. So Ambika, I will let you share a little bit about yourself.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Ambika Devi, the Mind Tamer. I'm a professional astrologer and coach specializing in communication and relationship empowerment. My mind taming techniques harmonize your relationship with thought and the mind. You see, I perceive the mind as external, not inside your head. And this in turn strengthens and increases your productivity and your relationship with everybody else, because the most important person is you. And self-love is the theme of my 6th book. I'm a professional astrologer, as I said, and I'm currently working on my 7th book, which is focused in on the 9 emotions, as per which are called Navarasa in Sanskritam, which is Sanskrit. And those are the 9 emotions. So we can break it down into those 9. I'm looking forward to sharing with all of you tonight.
Thank you, Ambika. Did I get it right the last time? Did I pronounce it right the last time? Yes. Okay. Beautiful. So thank you, Ambika. I appreciate that. So next up we have Dr. Courtney Evans, and she likes to call herself the Happily Ever After Coach. She's also a best-selling author of the book called Uncaged, and she's a divorce recovery coach. So Dr. Courtney, take it away. Also, I'm so been dying to know, what is your PhD in? What are you a doctorate of?
I have actually a DNP. It's a doctor of nursing practice. So the way that I describe that best, and I did not make up this part, and I wish I could do what Katie did with like all of this stuff, but I think I would just look really silly if I did it. She looks super cool. Like I really look like I'm swatting at things.
I believe in you. You can do it.
Do it like Rocky.
Maybe like
I can
rehearse
totally
it
do
and then do it next time. I mean,
Yes, I'm gonna practice for next time. But I didn't come up with this theory, but I was actually in a training after I published my book, and this person said something that really resonated with me. In my strategic life, I was a nurse for 20 years, and I got my doctorate degree, and I lived a life full of shoulds in my strategic life. And now, after a very stormy divorce process, I decided to live in my aligned life. And so now my aligned life is divorce recovery specialty, mindset mentor, and I'm the creator of the Happily Ever After Blueprint. So I lived a life with parents who stayed together for the kid, who didn't ask the kid if they wanted to stay together. It traumatized me and sent me into a pretty downward spiral into my first marriage. So I decided that I was going to take my power back and break the stigma of divorce and try to help people take their own power back and create their own happily ever after. I never really liked the damsel in distress. I like to be my own princess and save myself. So now I teach people how to do that. So that's me. And if I'm not busy coaching, I am at the beach. We love the beach. I look for sea glass, or I am momming. I have a middle schooler. So if anybody else has or had one of those, please pray for me. I need it.
I love that. Thank you, Courtney. Awesome. So last but definitely not least, we have Michelle Lane, who is an intuitive coach and a healer. She's a transformational leader and a business coach. She's a master numerologist, as well as a best-selling author of Stronger Than the Storm. Michelle, take it away.
Thanks, guys. It's so nice to see you guys here. And a little bit about me. Yeah, that storm, the storm of life. It kind of flipped my world upside down, and I found myself wondering who I was after all that. And I had little kids at the time. They're now almost 20 and 27, two girls. Been married 30 years next Wednesday. So it's been a journey, but this journey of mine, hook, line, and singer, helped me fall in love with coaching. I went through this huge transformation. I healed what I didn't know was trauma, and I wanted other people to break free from those places of indecision and fear and all those invisible patterns that keep us stuck, that hold us back, right? That we get to know a little bit better as we dive in more and connect ourselves in our spiritual nature. And so they can step fully into their brilliance. They can create that lasting success. It's not just this moment by moment success, and reclaim that love, wealth, and freedom that matters most. So I always like to say I'm this trifecta of mindset, somatic healing, neuro reprogramming, basically, and then the energetic and the spiritual work coming into the intuition, so we can take those deep rooted blocks that's affecting our business, our body, and our relationships, and really birth them into something beautiful. So I'm really excited to be here.
Thank you. I love that. And I think this is something important that I'm just kind of seeing up as, a theme in this container, but also just a theme of life, right? We're all women in here, and I love the fact that like almost every container I'm in, it's always women, right? And I just want to acknowledge that, because to me, it's just, we're always my experience is, and take it or leave it, is that there's always this hunger for growth, to strive to become better, to be better, better communicators, be better lovers, be better professionals. That's a word, we're just rolling with it, right? But it's like, I think about like the 1950s, right? Like, like women normally were stay-at-home moms, or they didn't work, or very few of them did work. Divorce was like a not okay thing, right? Divorce was not exceptional. And then somewhere in the 70s and 80s, like divorce kind of started becoming a thing. Women started wearing pants. Like we thought, oh, it's going to be really great. We're going to get jobs. But then we also got jobs, and then we still cooked, and we still cleaned, and we basically just made our lives harder, but more empowered, right? And I feel like now we're in 2025, and what's really beautiful that I've been witnessing in this stage of our existence is like the men are really starting to shift. Like they're allowing more emotions to come in. They're starting to get on that board of like internal growth. And also I'm seeing a lot more men that are like the stay-at-home dads, and they're playing more, the roles are being more balanced. And I really see that that's so much of what we're coming into. It's no longer a he versus she game, it's an us game, right? But one of the things that I was picking up on is that, it's our biggest struggles in our life that we go through that become our biggest teaching moments, and often our biggest successes, because it's how we use those deep traumatic moments, and we empower them and we enrich them. And so many of us want to help other people. Like I was hearing you, Dr. Courtney, and you, Michelle, saying that like, these are what I went through, and I want to help other people come through them quicker, faster, and with more grace, right? And even quicker success, which I think brings us right into ecstatic love today, right? Because so much of that is coming back to that like deep, deep, deep love that you have within your core that brings you to your next level, right? So before we get started, I just want to check in with the double Doloreses and Sarah. If you guys have any questions, or if there's anything that you're wanting to say before I open it up for some questions I'm going to ask the women here today. Nope. Go ahead, Loli.
Yeah, just excited to be in all of your presence and with your wisdom and learn from all of you. So thank you for creating this container and continuing to provide opportunities, Melissa, for all of us to come together.
Oh, I love you. Thank you.
Love you too.
I was so I just taught a class. It was for the Chinese New Year, which is the snake and the green goddess, right? And so Loli was in there. She totally inspired me, and she got a little drawing made up of her snake afterwards, and I made me get into like doing a drawing of my snake afterwards. And so that visual has come in handy. I'll just leave it at that. Okay, so the first question I have, and so this is for the four guests here today. And ooh, I actually feel like okay, I'm debating of who wants to answer the question or if I should stream it to one specific person. I'm actually hearing I should stream it to one specific person. Um, so Michelle, you're the one that my intuition is calling towards for this
Totally
question.
hear you. I was like, oh man. All right.
You're welcome, love. You're welcome. I totally put a little spin on this. So apologies, gratitude, whatever you want to call it. So Michelle, what does the state of ecstatic love mean and feel like to you?
I love that. The word is static. It's not just love. It's not just unconditional love. Like it's grand, it's luxurious, it's permission at its highest level, right? And to not only feel that, but to be that expression as it pours out of us, right? So it's not just something we're receiving in, but it's also something that we're flowing back out. And I think, like, when you think of that in terms of all relationships in our life, it's the relationships to the things that we relate with, it's the people, it's the circumstance and how life's around us. It's that the stability, it's that love versus fear that can drive us back not only into our grounded self, but into those miracles when we have that faith, when we allow ourselves to not only be the ecstatic love, but receive it and know that we're cared for, we've got this, that we don't have to push or to force or to manipulate it. It can flow freely. And then in that place, we get to discover more of who we are. That's how that feels. It feels like champagne bubbles and gold sparkles and pink.
Yes, I'm so here for that. Yes, yes. I love that. Thank you, Michelle. Does anyone want to piggy off of that, or did anything come up for you that you also, when you think of ecstatic love in your body, like what does it feel like for you? Go ahead.
Sure. I think there's a mysticism to the idea of ecstasy because it's transcendent. And when we imagine being in the state of ecstasy and ecstatic love, we are pouring out and not at all concerned with what am I getting, because it's the joy of being in that ecstasy.
Mm. Okay, so I have a question, and also, Ambika, can you do me a favor? Can you turn your mic volume up a little bit?
I can get closer to it.
Okay, sweet. Um, okay, so I have a question for you. So
For me?
in that space, so say you were in a life experience, right, where it's not fully the way that you're wanting, or the person around you isn't acting the way that you're desiring, and you really want to be in a place of unconditional love, even though you're not loving what's happening outside of you. How do you get back into that space of ecstasy and even when I was hearing you say, Michelle, that space of unconditional love, even though you're like, don't love this or the situation, but I still want to be in this beautiful space in my heart despite what's happening. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense to me. I think, and you're voicing about 90% of my clients that come to me with relationship issues because it's always projection out of the other person or how's the other person reacting to me or what are they thinking, what are they feeling? Because in a relationship, and this goes for any relationship, not just intimate or love or romance relationships, but family, friends, and work relationships. We want to feel safety and security, and we want to build trust. And the things that we really need to understand is what's the other person thinking? Because when we're feeling disconnected, it's because we don't understand what's going on behind the eyes of the other person. And not everybody's verbose and is really easy on communicating, especially when it comes to vulnerability. So being able to get vulnerable and to be able to share, what am I thinking, what am I feeling, and where is this going? And when we can do that, we can then create that safety, that trust, and that security, or at least begin to build it. As far as how to move out of the paranoia or distrust or confusion, I feel the best way, we talk about get grounded, get centered. Really, I think so many people are disconnected from nature. We might say, oh, breathe, but I think we need to exhale first so we can make space. So we have to find ways to make space. And when we go outside in nature and we connect with the five elements, and we can start to notice the fire of the sun, water, even if it's not near the ocean, like some of us have the joy of being near, but how about in the morning or the evening, the dew on the grass? When was the last time you noticed that? Or air, because how do we identify with air? Insects, leaves moving, or our breath, and earth. There's the grounding. I had a client ask me, I feel talked about how they didn't feel grounded. And I said, one of the best ways is stamp your feet. And they became weirded out by it. And I explained to them, in the bottom of your foot, in the middle of the big pad and the rest of the pad of your foot is a point in acupuncture that translates to the bubbling spring. That's where, when we walk, we're making contact with it. That's where we bring up energy from the earth. And if we think about the indigenous tribes, they stamp and dance, and that's how they activate the connection with the earth. So how about when you were a little kid, you loved looking at the clouds, you loved creating ideas of what you were seeing. And my goodness, it's few and far between. I can find another person, even another astrologer, who can point up at the sky and tell me which is a planet and what the constellations are called. We are disconnected from nature. So when we can reconnect with nature, we can reconnect with our nature and then accept our true nature. I was actually having a discussion this morning about Dharma with an astrologer who was one of my professors when I went to college for astrology, and he had written a newsletter that was completely incorrect about Dharma. The Western idea of Dharma is totally off. Dharma is your true nature, and all of the houses of Dharma in an astrology chart are fire element. Why? Because fire will hone you. It'll burn up what you no longer need. Fire will strengthen metal. Think about it.
Thank you.
And
I
fire is
appreciate that.
passion.
Fire is passion.
Passion.
Well, and something too, like I love the aspect of thinking about nature, where it's like it always brings you back to like I think maybe because I watched too many Handmaid Tales, where I was like, okay, like who here has watched Handmaid's Tale? Anyone else watched it? Okay. I think I went to serious depression for like a year after watching
Oh,
it.
I couldn't watch the second season. The first
Yeah.
season did me in. I mean, months of getting over it. I'm still, even saying it weirds me out. One of my friends actually made the logo that they use. There's a whole story behind that.
Yeah. For a topic for a different day. But one of the things I think about is I'm like, no matter what the world seems like, there's still bees outside. There's still birds, like life is still okay. And it just reminds me of like the evolution that like no matter what the storm is, stronger than the storm, thinking of your book title there, Michelle, like no matter what the storm is, like there's the evolution, there's the dharma, there's what you were just talking about. There's something there to be learned and to grow and to move forward, which kind of brings me to the next question. And Dr. Courtney, I'm looking at you for this one. How has owning your ecstatic love and coming out of the storm, the obstacles, the trauma, how has it transformed you?
Oh my gosh. In so many ways. So many ways. Many of them I would not have been able to step into had I not have gone through the trauma to begin with, and then also not gone through the forgiveness. So really for me, and I tell my clients this all the time, I walked the path, I stumbled the path, I tripped and fell, I rolled down the path, I got muddy on the path, I cried on the path. And I try to make their path a little bit better than the way I handled it. Because I could have really found those transformations many years ago had I have just owned my own part in the suffering and then owned the forgiveness that I needed to give myself and other people and stop being so stubborn. So stepping into that forgiveness has transformed me in from childhood traumas, from first marriage, from all the things we do in adolescence. And it really allowed me the ability, which my book is called Uncaged, but it really allowed me the availability to step out of it, step out of the cage and be able to become who I am meant to be, and really recognize that the vulnerability is okay. Like, it's okay. That was never anything that was okay when I was a child. So being vulnerable with, you guys, being vulnerable with clients, being vulnerable by putting it all on paper in a book really allowed me to see who I was meant to be and step out of a life full of shoulds. So I think that the transformations are honestly endless.
I believe strongly, Courtney, that we should not step in a pile of should.
Right? Those shoulds need tos and have tos.
Yes.
You could
Don't
just throw
should
them away.
on you. Yeah.
Yes, yes, and I have stepped in a lot of shoulds over the years. That I might steal that from you. That's really great. But yeah, I
I
lived a
wish
whole
I
life
could
full of them.
I wish I could own that, but years and years ago, uh, a friend wrote a song called "Don't Should on Me and I Won't Should on You."
Mm.
Oh, okay.
So you can
But I
quote
still
it
like
from.
the step in a pile of shoulds. That
Yeah,
is that
you're
is
welcome to
very
it, and
good.
if you want to mention me, I'd love it.
I sure will. That is very good. So yeah, stepping away from the piles of shoulds is what led to my transformation.
Mm. Well, what I was hearing from your share too that I really loved was it's like all that depth and all those trenches brought you to your ecstatic love.
Yes.
Right. And the one thing that I really want to highlight, because I do think it's been one of my biggest transformations, is this self-forgiveness, right? Where it's like, I think of like, experience in the past where for years I could never let go of the relationship. And I was still so angry at them, but I was like, God, I'd forgiven them. I don't know why it was still creeping up. And then I realized, oh my gosh, it's because I wasn't trusting myself. And I knew what was going
Exactly.
on. I wasn't trusting it. And I didn't forgive myself. Like, I broke my trust with myself. And when I realized that, it was like the energy I had on that person totally went away because I started taking responsibility. And even though the
Yeah.
responsibility it wasn't a mean responsibility, like, Melissa, you should have done this. It was just like, oh, Melissa, you knew all of that, but you didn't listen because of your heart just wanted the love, And it's like, oh, okay. So, I think that there's something really powerful in, yes, absolutely forgive the other person, but oh, when you forgive yourself, when you forgive
Absolutely. And
yourself.
it took me a long time to get to the point of, okay, I'm worthy of being forgiven. That
Mhm.
was where, I tell everybody, oh, I've forgiven them. I've let them go. I've energetically cut the cord. I wrote all kinds of letters, burnt them, did all kinds of things. And I'm like, I'm healed. So why do I still feel this way? And then it was like, wait a minute. I'm worthy of forgiveness of self. And then once I accepted that and accepted my own value, it was like this whole thing just opened up.
Mm. I love that piece, like that rang true, like when we're worthy of forgiving ourselves, right? Which, like, we're the only one that holds the key, you know? And yes, what you just said on Bika, it's like it's easy to lose yourself in a relationship, which it really is. And you just want to you just want it to work so much. And that's even like, yeah, I feel like I was going to go on a tangent, but I don't really know where I was going. So I'm going to shift gears there.
Right. Can I just add something which I think
Yeah.
is really helpful, and it was really empowering for me when I learned this through numerology. We're looking at these moments of time, the moments that of what we've come to learn in this lifetime is the perspective, and the personality codes and all the events, not that we'd want any harm or bad things to happen, but all these events strengthen us in some way to help us empower ourselves more, to bring us to that choice point. And depending on our journey, we're not always sure what that is in the beginning, and then we grow a little bit and we get some more language around it, and then we grow a little bit more, and then our spiritual, education comes in and we have new language for that. But I think I felt, not think, but I know I felt very much comfort in that we're contracted for certain people in this lifetime for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. So we may think it's going to be forever, but the lesson that came in and was learned, maybe there was a karma attached to it, maybe there was a lesson and a blessing always. But when you meet that contract, if you're both not in agreement to continue going, then you get to take the gift. And knowing that you gave a gift to someone else, you don't ever have to know what that is. And I think, Courtney, what I was coming through when you were talking about forgiveness, I've done a lot of that practice too. And I kept waiting for everyone else to apologize, waiting for someone else to say that we're wrong, waiting. And I was so stuck in the waiting, like, you have to prove to me that you were wrong and I was right. And so then it was the loop, right? And the lack of forgiveness doesn't let us let go of that toxic should or the next best friend of, guilt or whatever it is. What did I do? Or taking all the responsibility. And I think it's a normal part of being human, and the gift is in the learning. And so when we can look at these things from, maybe it was always just intended for us to learn these things through each other so we can take that gift and move on. It kind of takes the edge off of it just a bit. So there's no wrongness. There's no like, I didn't know. You're just right where you need to be for the next part of your life. That makes sense.
Yeah, I love that. One of my trainers said to me the other day, she's like, I don't like the word surrender. And it was really interesting because one of my clients said that to me the other day. She's like, I hate it every time you use the word surrender, Melissa. And I was like, okay, what's up with that? And I was like, oh, so I've been like pondering a new word. And she finally, she dropped it the other day and she said, she's like, always replace the word surrender with acceptance. And that really, that shifted.
Yes. And we get to define whatever we need at any moment, because if it triggers us, there's something there, right? Like it's so beautiful. So I think it's just all useful, and you get to feel your feelings, and it gets to suck sometimes, and it gets to be hard, and then it gets to be changed when we decide. And I think that's
Yeah. I love that. Yeah, thank you. Okay,
So
so
before you go past that, because this is really important stuff, the concept of surrender, because so many people have been conditioned to believe that surrender means like I'm sort of giving up, right? I'm giving myself up. I'm giving up. I'm surrendering. I'm letting go. Take me, whatever needs to come. It comes from a place of disempowerment. And it's really interesting. So the energetic frequency, it's really easy to understand how it works. Acceptance versus trying to force something. So the idea of surrender, the reason why acceptance feels better is it's almost like if you were to think about the scene in Titanic where she's like, I'll never let go, I'll never let go. And she's like holding on for dear life, and she's stuck on that door, right? And she will not let go of Jack, but she has to let go of Jack in order to get to the boat, right? We don't let go because we're clinging to something, right? We won't surrender. And surrender does mean acceptance, because it means accepting that you have to let go, that you have to accept somebody else. I know a lot about this too, because I've spent my entire life trying to control like men and be like, but you have to love me, right? But you have to, like, you have to, everything everybody's saying, right? You have to say you're sorry. You have to admit that you were wrong. You have to see the hurt you did. And it's like, I will not let go. I will not let go. I will not let go, right? I'm waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. And then I go, oh, I surrender. And it's like, wait a minute, that's so dramatic, babe. It's not, you're not Scarlett O'Hara. You're an adult, right? And you choose to let go so you can be free. So surrender, the reason why people hate it is that they feel like they're giving up. But if you think about Rose on that door, right, she has two choices. She can freeze to death, or she can get on that boat and live her life. So when we surrender, We're letting go of the thing we're clinging to so dearly. And it's a mental thing and it's an emotional thing. It's a somatic thing, right? It's like we're clinging to something. So if you find yourself in a state of needing to surrender and you're like, oh, I'm just so desperately clinging to this thing, like I can't get out of it and I don't want to surrender. I hate that word. You just have to figure out what's the door you're on, who are you holding on to, and where you want to be. Do you want to be on the boat to safety, or do you want to be there forever clinging to Jack because Jack is gone? Do you know what I mean? So I just wanted to say that because I think it's such a great analogy and it really sort of brings to life what it feels like. Because remember, I'm the embodiment lady. So I'm like, okay, it's not just an idea, it's how does it feel, right? What does that feel like? So if you're holding on, and I can tell you how many people come to me, they will not let go. They will not let go of the story. This person's my soulmate. We're meant to be together. I'm like, listen, babe, how does your body feel? Does it feel like this? Or like, and so many times they're like, oh, no, it feels so good. They're like, this feels horrible. I got to get out of here. Do you know what I mean? So if you start to really feel what you're feeling and you're like, this sucks, you're going to surrender. Trust me, because you're like, shit, I got to let go because I got to get to the other side, and you will never make it unless you do. So I just wanted to lob that one into the universe just because it's fun, right? I think it's a fun way to think about it. So you're not giving up. You're getting on that boat. You get to live your life. Hooray.
Katie, isn't it ironic that it's a door and they need to go through the door?
It's so symbolic, right? It's like
I
the
know.
door,
And I
and
think
she's on a
that's the
door.
box that
Guys, wasn't
Courtney's
there room
talking
for
about,
Jack
you
though?
know?
Just a little. There's a little room for Jack on that door. Let's go back and just look. Like, why is you in the water? Just kidding.
Because he had to die. Because he had to surrender. That wasn't the story, right? Even that, we're like, oh, but we can find a way.
We love the drama.
But like how many times I did that in life where like my boyfriends and stuff, and I'm like, but I can save him, but I can. Plus, mind you, I came from a family of alcoholics, so I know codependency and trying to save people, right? And it's a really, 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 I can't say really enough. It's a very hard thing to let go when you know that something better's on the other side, and it's sort of that acceptance of you can't force somebody to come with you. We will never be able to convince people to love us, right? Like it's a hard lesson for me, but I think that is the secret, is understanding that when we surrender, we're saving ourselves. Like you're not giving up anything, you're choosing life. You're choosing ecstatic love. That's ecstatic love, if you ask me. That is like balls to the wall. I choose me. That is orgasmic to me at this point. I've been in a phase where, for me, you didn't ask, but I'm going to tell you because I think it's funny. Ecstatic love to me now is riding a bull. Like riding a bull through the, like, what was her name? Lady Godiva? That's ecstatic love to me. Just like bareback, like, whoa, let's fucking go. That's ecstatic love. That's my version of it. So you didn't ask, but now you know. That's what I think of. It's the Shakti Bomb version.
Yeah. I could totally get on a bull right now. That'd be so fun.
Get on, girl.
Something that really opened up for me that I want to piggy on there that you were sharing, Katie, is the surrender to the acceptance piece, right? Where that door, it's the choice. And what I was hearing in it is that so many times there's the fear, the insecurity, but the word that's really coming through is like not feeling like we're capable enough to open the door, to handle and be strong enough to be what's on the other side. And I think that there's something really powerful in there. And one of my favorite things I love to do when I'm scared to do something or I'm freaking out, I don't know how to do it, is I just speak straight to it. Like I'll stop and I'll say a prayer, right? Like I used to host these big events, and every time before the event, I would like be inundated with all of like, all the fear thoughts. And I would just stop and I would say, okay, spirit, God, angels, like this is what I'm feeling. I'm afraid that this and this and this and this is going to happen. And I just brain dump all of my fears. And I say, And I would love to give this to you because I know this isn't the truth. And this is actually what I would love to happen. And then I would speak my intention and my desires out there. And then I say, and can you please make this happen and anything I missed and anything better that you see fit for me? And then I let it go. And sure enough, at the end of the night, when I look back, everything that I wanted happened in plus. And I bring that up because when, we're at those crossroads where you've got to make that choice of like, do I, this song, do I stay or should I go now? Right? Where you're like, what do I do in these moments? There is going to be that tug of fear and insecurity because it's the uncertainty. It's the unknown. It's that, are we capable enough? Are we strong enough? What is the repercussions? What am I going to risk? What am I going to lose? Right? But when you get really grounded in it and you just take, like Ambika said, like when you take that exhale so that you can inhale that fresh door and you just say that little prayer of like, I don't know what's on the other side, but I know that this is what I'm wanting and this is what I'm going after. And it's that power move. It literally is the power move on the chessboard that like brings you into that possibility and it takes you to that ecstatic space. Katie, I feel like you're wanting to say something right there.
No, I'm just laughing because I'm working on a book
Mm-hmm.
and it's about this, I call it the power shift.
Mm.
And it's that like, radical commitment to yourself. So it's just like you're saying that because I've been working on this for 15 years. Like, what is it? Like, what is the thing that we're not doing? Like, what is the thing we're scared to do? And what is the thing that I've been doing my whole life naturally that everybody has been hating me for? And it's the power move. It's the I'll go. It's the I know the answer. It's the I'm ready. Pick me.
Yeah.
Put me in, coach. It's the confidence to believe in yourself. It's radical self-belief. It's wildly feminine in nature. And it's the closest thing to passion and truth that's available because we're designed to have everything that we want. We're just too scared to ask for it, right? We're too scared to say, excuse me, but that wasn't right. We don't own our boundaries. We don't speak up. And I think that it's this thing where I just like, that's why I was like, oh yeah, that's it. That's the riding the bull moment, right? That's it. And so many people resist it for this reason because I don't think people know it's possible. Like they don't know it's a choice. Like, so many people I talk to are like, you mean I can actually do that? I'm like, hell yes, you can do that. You can do whatever you want, sister. You have the power. Do you know what I mean? So that's why I was like, oh, yay.
Yeah. Here's the permission. Here's the permission. Okay, so moving from the power move forward. So I'm not going to call anyone. I'll let you all take the power move and speak up. So whoever wants to come off mic first, do it up. Okay, so my next question is, hold on, I have like a lot of questions. I'm deciding which one. Okay, this one feels really important. How do you know when to, here's that great word that we're cringing over, surrender, right? To take acceptance and then to take action, particularly when you're wanting to manifest. So how do you like balance the like, okay, this is where, no, how do you know? How do you come to your own knowingness of when it is to just like accept something and when to move forward? And I'll open the mic.
So when we are sure, we take a step. It depends on the true nature of the individual because there are people that may be adrenaline junkies that just keep going, going, going without thinking or checking in with themselves or the people around them to see if, yes, this is the move now. And then there's people that'll hang back their entire lifetime and disallow themselves to move forward. And with what I just wrote in the chat, my perception is the only place to be is the present moment. Because if we're projecting thoughts into the future, we're generating fear. And if we're dwelling on what happened in the past, we're creating anxiety. And so we we must absolutely be in the present when we're centered, when we're grounded, and we have really looked into the areas of what we want in that next step, we take it. However, there are plenty of times where intuition kicks in and we just have a knowing, and there's no need to explain it. If you have that knowing, you feel it. That's why we say, I have a feeling in my gut, or I sense it. Well, can we step in the wrong direction? Absolutely. But when we take a step in any new direction, it's ourselves being willing to take a risk.
I think I know when to move when I'm uncomfortable. That's when I figure out, like, our bodies, and they don't enjoy the chaos, but the chaos is comfortable. Whatever we're used to is comfortable. And stepping out of that, or doing the Katie Power move, let's put me in, coach, is like, I'm so uncomfortable with that. Like, no, coach, please don't put me in. Please don't look at me. Like, I don't want to be the center of anything. And that's when I know, and I've learned through sitting in that is the moment for me, that you got to, like, you're uncomfortable, and there's a reason you're uncomfortable, and now you need to make that move, because you don't grow unless you're uncomfortable. And I think, to Katie's point, that's why a lot of people don't take that power move, because it is uncomfortable and they're fearful of how that feels, to be like, oh, everybody's looking at me, everybody's picking me, I'm riding this bull in front of everybody. What if I fail? What if I fall? And it's like, it takes this special shove to, but what if you fly instead? And so I've gotten to the point where it's like, I'm super uncomfortable. I'm going to fail. I'm going to fall. And it's like, you know what? I might fly. So let's do this. So that's when I tell people now, when you're uncomfortable, that's when you got to take that step.
Well, and I think too, even on the counter of that, like so many people are like, it's not oh, Michelle, you can go. I'll be quick if you want to go after this. It's not uncomfortable enough to move, but it's not comfortable enough that you want to stay. So then you just stay in that stuck place, like the checkmate, Um, and I was thinking, go ahead, Michelle, take it.
Well, I was just going to say, I was just going to share a piece because I don't know, like it's so logical, but it hit me in a whole nother way a couple years ago, like as taking those moves and feeling with all the fears that rise and everything that's rising up and who I'm going to be on the other side of that I don't know yet, right? Like I don't know that person yet. We're getting to know her. I think the realization that I'd lived in fear for so long was really like it sucked bad because I didn't feel in my head that I was the fearful person. I felt like I was the confident person. But there was this little nuance in a conversation that I had with my coach maybe 4 years ago. And it was as simple as that indecision is the uncomfortable, right? We're ruminating in the head. We don't really know what's going on. The body's literally begging for decision so it can do something next. But when I was told your indecision is still a decision, it just kind of was like, well, that doesn't work for me anymore. And so the simplicity of that you are choosing the indecision because it's keeping you safe was a conversation that just went, I can come back to that every single time. And then the analogy that I have is, it's kind of like Titanic move, right? We're using Titanic. So you're either way in, leaning over the edge, for king of the world, or you're toe dipping, making sure the water feels good before you jump in first. And so if you feel like you're kind of testing and wanting to prove that it's going to work before you jump, you've got to jump to know that it's working and who you become on the other side. And so that's the analogy for, are you in indecision? And or are you in decision, but you haven't fully committed? Because there's an energy behind, I've made a decision and I'm all in that decision, versus I'm made a decision and I'm talking about it. It's going to be really great one day. And then I haven't done a thing about it. And around and around and around we go. Now we've just fooled ourselves that we actually made a choice and decision. Right. And so that nuance was really helpful. And maybe I've gone off on a tangent.
Well, no, it's actually
I love
perfect.
that.
Oh, go ahead, Courtney. Do you want to go?
Are you sure? Is it okay?
Yeah, yeah,
I just,
yeah.
I love what you said, Michelle. I love that. And I will go off on a tangent for just a second, because this is so powerful to me. So when I made the decision to write a book, I changed my mind. I can't even count how many times I changed my mind. And I was like, I can't do this. I can't do this. Well, I flew to Denver from Virginia. So the furthest I've ever gone, ever, on an airplane, to do the cover. And I was not going to be on it. I knew it, like I was like just bent on I'm not going to be on it. And they kind of talked me into it and had this whole vision, which was really, really great. I was like, okay, you know what? I'm making a decision. I'm going. Like I'm going to go. So I went, and then I got there, I got my makeup done, I got my hair done, and I went to walk around the corner to like it was a cage that was like a screen on the wall. And I got ready to walk towards it. And I realized in that moment, I was not committed to the change. I still had a toe left in that cage that I had to work through literally while I'm filming for the cover of this book that I thought, oh, my body feels good. I've made a decision. And literally in Denver in the middle of a snowstorm, realized I had not committed to that decision. And my body was so uncomfortable because it wanted me to move. So, Michelle, I love that. You're
Right? It's
so
like
right.
it's like teeter-totter, and then you're like, just get off the
Yes.
thing. Let's go, right? Otherwise, you're just stuck here. And so
Yep.
I was thinking earlier with your question, how do you know when it's time to accept and time to move forward? It's like, where are my thoughts? 51% is creating this reality in front of me. What keeps showing up that's not quite right yet? What am I thinking about, and how can I move that just towards that edge just a bit more? And what's it going to require of me to create that change, right?
Yep.
That's,
Yep.
it changed everything for me. So thank you for acknowledging that bit. Love it.
There's been scientific studies about what makes the better decision. And it is proven that the tissue of the heart makes the better decision, not the brain. The brain is just a computer that processes things. And then the other brain is the gut. When we are in embryonic state, the first two parts that develop are the digestive system and the brain, and they're interconnected. So that's where we get the idea of trust your gut. And really, what I would guide a client to do is put your hands on your heart. Put one on your heart, put one on your belly, and now ask those areas because your body won't lie to you. It'll tell you the truth.
Absolutely. Which I was just writing. I'm like, that geeks me out because everything has come back to that simple moment of bringing it all together, right? And I love exactly what you said. And that extra step is thinking of something you're grateful for, amplifying that heart resonance, really getting it ramped up before asking the question, because the heart doesn't lie. But it can, it can start bouncing between the head and the heart again. But when we can bring ourselves into that state, invite the mind into the heart, start thinking of the things that mean the most to you, those cute little doggies every morning that say hello, or your kids, or whatever that is that brings that joy, you can already feel that, right? And then ask the question from there. So thank you for bringing that up. That was beautiful.
Absolutely. And the attitude of gratitude. I was talking about this with a client yesterday who was very frustrated. And I asked him, do you have a gratitude practice? And that's the wonderful thing about electronic calendars. You can write things in your calendar every day and they can pop up. And I share this often with my clients. I tell them what I do. I mean, I can't tell you, I can tell you what I've learned from my clients, which is a plethora of information and guidance. And I can tell you how I handle it, but then you've got to develop your own way. And if you don't want to have a gratitude journal, no problem. How about a pop-up on your calendar? And I have one every afternoon. And you know what? It is always a great reminder. And it just pops up and it says, say 3 things that you're grateful for. And it just stops me in my tracks when I see it, even if I don't see it right when it pops up, and I happen to pick up my phone or be at my computer and I see it and I just stop and it just gives me that moment. And, the brain will naturally go into the state of meditation or hypnosis because it's the same brainwave configuration every 90 seconds. So we have that potential to get there. So if you can take breath, in and out for 90 seconds, you can shift your day, you can shift your week, you can shift your life.
I love that. So there's so many juicy nuggets there, and I kind of want to get to some real life stories here. So what is like okay, I have 2 questions, and then we're going to I'm being mindful of time is, and I also want to see if any of our guests have any questions that they want asked. If you do, let me start there. Do you guys have any questions that you want to ask before we move forward? Because I want to make sure I have time for your voices. Go ahead, Lily.
Thank you so much. It's really great and validating to hear. So a lot of this is something that my mom has consistently been talking about. So it just brings and reinforces the conversation. Going back to the radical commitment to myself and the self-forgiveness, I really wanted to ask the group, when we talk about letting go or accepting and surrendering, there's this moment in time when you're like, fine, I'm letting go. I'm done with this. I'm looking forward. And then that relationship turns around and says, no, wait, I'm going to do everything that's possible to keep you. And there's a piece of guilt that feels like you need to pull back and give that a chance. Wanted to get your thoughts on how do you discern and balance that I already made my choice and I'm moving forward versus, all right, let me figure that if let me understand if this is something that I can look back into.
I got something for you on guilt. Okay. So shame sits in the root chakra. Okay. So shame is like in the foundation. Shame is the sort of stuff that's like, oh, I feel bad about this. Like, I'm not a good person. Guilt sits in your second chakra. Okay. So that is in your sacral chakra. Guilt, when turned inwards, has a very specific icky feeling, right? It's a hook. So when you're thinking about a relationship and you make a decision, right? If you make that decision with your root chakra, okay, that's a very grounded power move. That's like, okay, I am choosing this. I am stepping into this. I do a lot of teaching people how to like physically embody change. So what I would tell you to do, and I'll tell you now, is draw a physical line on the floor. Okay? Like you're there, you're here, there's a line. Feel what it feels like when you make a commitment. I am ending this. You also have to be very clear on why you're choosing yourself, right? So the commitment to yourself, to your freedom, has to be stronger than your commitment to staying in a relationship that's toxic or hurtful or unsupportive or whatever it is. So you have to feel that in your body. You have to make the commitment within yourself. You feel that. And then you step over that line. When you step over that line, if you're like, oh, but I feel bad, or I feel guilty, or this person, they're showing up, they're saying that they love me, or they're showing me a glimmer, you will feel in your body undoubtedly. If it is guilt, it is a hook, and it's trying to pull you back over that line. So it's up to you to really embody the commitment to make it to. You have to be Rose. I don't know why all of a sudden, I've never
Good
ever,
movie.
I know, but I've never used Rose on the door before. Like, I don't know why today it's like, it's all about freaking Rose and the thing, right? But you have to sort of be that. Oh, sorry, this is my wind down alarm has gone off.
Ooh, I need one
Yeah.
of those.
Yeah, you gotta have a thing. It's time for Betty by Katie. It's like turn your shit off and go to bed. See, it's commitment to myself. But you really want, does that make, do you see what I'm saying? Like you
Yeah.
have to feel it. And if you feel guilty, you will know. And I'll tell you one thing that will never not be, that will always be true. It will never not be. If you decide to go back to somebody out of guilt, that's not the right decision for you.
Right.
Ever.
Yeah.
Unless you like suffering, in which case have at it. right? So it's this thing of like when you feel it, and like if you feel it with your full self, it will be so much easier for you to walk out that door. Can you tell I work with a lot of people with codependent relationships, alcoholics? Like I've been through some shit and I've seen some stuff, and I dated a lot of jerk faces who told me that they were good guys. And do you know how many times I went back to them and I got hit by a car. Okay. The guy didn't show up. I got hit by a car. I forgave him. He fucked me over one more time before I realized that I was worth it. So this is why I'm qualified to say, commit to yourself, girl. Don't let guilt
Thank you.
back in. Yeah.
Thanks, Katie.
You might have said it, but I think I missed it. How can you tell the difference between the guilt and the shame?
So shame sits in your root chakra.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So it sits lower, it's in your hips, it's heavier. And shame is more of a, everybody experiences it differently, but here's another way that you can do it. Think about a time when I'm teaching workshops, when I'm teaching the shedding shame workshop, like say, I ask people, think of a time when you felt shame. Your body will have a response. Like you'll feel that in your body, it will resonate. And you're like, oh, that's what shame feels like to me. Okay, I know that. Then think about a time when you felt guilty. Like you got caught with your hand in the cookie jar when you were 5 and your mom was like, what are you doing? And you're like, I did something bad. And you're like, uh-oh, now my mom doesn't love me, right? Like, guilt, feel what that feels like. So guilt is more like shame is heavy and it makes you kind of want to hide. Guilt makes you want to like turn yourself inside. I call it the Popple effect. You turn yourself inwards, like you literally disappear. Shame feels different than guilt. So you got to figure out how it feels for you. But if you think about times in your life when you felt it, you will know the difference. Does that make sense?
I'd love to add a tidbit to that, if I may. The root chakra, Muladhara chakra, is at the base of us, and that is the anchor for the meat body, the physical body. The chakras are actually anchors for the kosha layers. And the root chakra is where we connect with everything. Like Cicero, the famous Roman statesman's quote, everything is alive, everything is interconnected. So the root chakra is where we connect to everything and everyone. The second chakra, Svadhisthana, is where we connect to one person at a time, and creativity, where we connect to one activity at a time. So guilt is more of a universal fear or anxiety, and shame is usually because of one or small, or a set of situations.
Thank you. It's a
Do you
lot.
want to move on from that conversation, or are you still going?
No, if you want to add to it, babe.
Um, just my perspective and maybe the blessings that I've been able to work with people get a lot of guilt and shame in the body. So the body holds the truth, and the feelings that are attached to that guilt and shame can show up. I wrote down here in a statement, usually I should or I shouldn't have is what's going through your head. You can fill in the blank, and that lives somewhere in your body. And so we can give it space to identify the truth of that. Might bring tears, might bring some things. You can journal on it, right? You've left off the exception to the rule. So you've held yourself to the shackles of the guilt, to the shame, because you're going to help everyone else and you're going to make sure you're the martyr and all the things, right? But when you find what that is and you really let that rise into the body, then we can add in the exception and you can free yourself from the rest of the story that you've held off. So it's a belief, and you've cut off the reason why that it happened in the first place, and the reason why you've made the decision, and the reason why you're able to move forward. And if you can connect yourself to that, you can write a more empowering story that can replace that. So again, we're back to decision, and just make a new decision. You don't have to live off the past one. So even tonight, if this has helped you, you don't have to hold on to any guilt that's in your body. you can identify what that is, and you can choose right now that you're ready, done to let go, and you can write a new story towards, because I said so, because I want it, because this is the life I'm choosing. And that's all you need to know. So
Thank you.
I love that. I want to add to that too. You know, Loli, like what I was also hearing in your question was discernment and boundaries. You know, like what is your baseline and like what is your no longer dealing with give a fucks anymore line, right? Like, and that feels like an inside job, right? It's not of like, well, if you do this, I'm out. It's like, no, if I feel this way one more time, like you've had all the warnings, it's like, what is your internal boundary of when, like, when your line is up, you know? Mm-hmm.
Thank you. That helps a lot. I appreciate it.
Yeah, great question. Do you have another question, or does anyone else have another question they want to share or ask? No. Okay, perfect. Let me just do a time check. Okay. Okay, good. So we've got a few more minutes of questions that we'll see what we get through. But okay, so one of the things. Okay, so in 5 minutes, I'd like to get through two questions. One is, what is like a story you remember that, like a personal experience, preferably not long-winded, right? Where you chose the power move. You crossed the line, you chose the other thing, and you created abundance out of it. You created wealth, you created something magical. Like, I'm thinking about your snowstorm in Colorado, right? Like, you got up there and you're like, wow, I still have things in the cage, right? So what was like the power move that you did when you walked up to uncertainty, you walked up to the door, and what was on the other side?
I mean, I walked up to the door and I went on the cover of a book. um, that was my power move, was stepping into something that I finally decided to do, owning it, being happy about it. And then, I mean, I did not write a book to be on a best-selling list. I did not write it to become a millionaire. I didn't do any of those things. I wrote it because I wanted to help people. I wanted to make a bigger ripple effect than just one-to-one coaching. I wanted to be a lighthouse for people coming behind me. And the messages that I have received from people who have read it, that is what it created. That is what it did.
I love that. And that just comes right back to the intention, right? And I think about this with your question, Lolly, is like your intention was to be the lighthouse, to make it easier for people behind. And what you're receiving from their words, like their reflections, their experience of your book, is exactly that. And I bring that up to you, Lolly, because your intention is so mighty powerful. You know, so taking that pause, like you mentioned in the chat, like the AAA, right? When you have the awareness, I can't remember the middle word. The third word was action. Go ahead.
Acceptance, awareness, acceptance, and action.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you. And I would like to add in, and the silent I, in between acceptance and action, which is intention.
Mhm.
What is my intention when I cross this line? What is my intention when I make this power move? Because then you're setting yourself up for success.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Can I ask you all a question surrounding the power? Okay, great. Thank you. So when you do step into your power, I'm starting to feel this intuitive pull that once I become honest with myself and live my authentic truth, then sort of everything starts to follow through that ecstatic love to yourself. Then the abundance comes with everything else. Is that something that you all have experienced with your journeys? And I'd love to hear any nuggets around that too.
I can tell you. Oh, go ahead.
No, please.
Oh, yeah. So I have a bit of an interesting story that might sort of resonate with where you're at. So, long story short, there were many, many times in my life where I've experienced major traumas, things like that. I mentioned I got hit by a taxi, like, sexual assaults, like you name it. I had it at some point. But I had a spiritual teacher, okay? And one of the things that I did when I had my spiritual teacher was I followed this man to heal, right? I gave him, I don't know, maybe $50,000 by the time I was done. I was extremely in debt. I um, got to the end of the road with my spiritual teacher and I decided to part ways with him, right? So I walked away. I was devastated. I was heartbroken. I was depressed and very much in debt, like incredibly in debt. And it was very dark, dark, very dark time. And I spoke to another mentor of mine who said, listen, you're having a hard time manifesting physical things because you spent your whole life disassociated and disconnected from your body because of the trauma. You've learned how to survive without being present with yourself, right? So learn how to be present with yourself. And I learned how to be present with myself. Part of my power move was basically saying, fuck you to my spiritual teacher. He was my guru. And I was like, you don't get to treat me like that. He mistreated me. Okay, he treated me badly. And I walked away from the man who was supposed to love me the most, right? Devastation. Devastation. Gutted. I felt like someone cut me from my stern to my base of all my guts came. It was very hard for me. And so she taught me the power move, right? She was like, you come back to yourself. And when I started doing some of the things that I teach people, I went from being $85,000 in debt to manifesting over $120,000 in like 6 months. I was living in my parents' house. I got out of debt. I had all the jobs I ever wanted. Like my life changed overnight. I moved into a house on the water. Like it fucking worked. So it was like the ultimate power move of all because it wasn't just, it was like my spiritual teacher, like the man, he was like my wizard, right? Like I was Elphaba and I was like, screw you, dude. I'm going to go and I'm going to figure this out, right? I'm going to change my life. So I think that's a pretty extraordinary example of manifesting cash, right? And money is physical stuff. So that's why we got to be in our bodies. We got to be present. We got to feel your feelings and like be present with yourself because then you manifest physical stuff. You want money, you got it. You want a relationship, you got it. You want a house, you got it. It's so cool. And that was probably the scariest thing I ever did, to walk away from my teacher and be like, bye. You don't own me.
Yeah. Well, I just want to add to that too. And Ambika, I know that you had something you want to share too, is like I think when you're wanting to walk away from something, there's a piece of you that's like feeling guilty or shame about what's going to happen to them. And there's a piece about that where it's like responsibility is in your court for how you show up. Your responsibility is not in how they show up. Right? And so all you can do is keep your side of the street clean the way that you want it clean. Show up the way that makes yourself proud, the way that you love yourself. Be the person that you want to be. You know, because it's not, especially, you know, this has nothing to do with you, but I'm just thinking about like being married or something like that. Like there's a big risk that comes in take. But again, it's like, I mean, I will tell you, I'll tell you, 15 years later after leaving my daughter's father, wonderful man, not my man, right? And he always said, like, you just didn't wait long enough for me to, like, get it together. 15 years later, exact same place he was, And I'm like, I would have been waiting forever. Not my responsibility. Not my responsibility, And it's like, we want to rescue and save, but when we're rescuing and saving, what lifeline are we throwing out? We're throwing out our own vitality, our own lifeline. And where's your reservoir? Okay, and then we're gonna wrap up here in a second, but Ambika, did you want to add something to that?
Yes, this goes back to something I said earlier about your true nature. You can't tell a zebra or a tiger, take your stripes off. You know, we have to realize this. And so in a relationship, like what you just described, Melissa, this guy was acting his true nature. And even though he wanted to morph and transform, you can't go against your true nature. And this goes into your primordial essence. And it's really important when we're going back to that self-love place to activate it through our own primordial sound. That's why our voice is so important.
Yeah, and our choice and our power and like this the action that you choose to make. Okay, I see
Yeah,
both of you went
wrap
off
it up,
mute.
bring it, like this vision just came in of Titanic again. I love how we're just playing with this. I mean, it's funny. So I'm thinking of like, do you remember when she's like ready to go and then she's like, well, let go. Like it was frozen to her and she had to like peel off the hand. It's kind of graphic, but symbolic for what you just said. And so sometimes you're ready to go and someone else is left behind because they're not matching where you're growing. Like it can be very symbolic. We can go like the door, like really big on that. But sometimes you have to unstick the stuck so you can move forward. And just because you are willing to, not just because you're willing to grow, the other person may not meet you there. Why should you have to wait for that other person to catch up? You get to be you, he gets or they get to be them. You get to figure out who you are together. And if you can't choose who they are in the moment and love them for who they are right now, then it's not working. Because then we're trying to rescue, or we're trying to not play the victim, or we're dimming our light, or there's some other repercussion for that. And it was just that moment of like seeing that like unglue. It's like, no, now I'm free, let me go. Right? Anyway, bringing it back around.
No,
I
I love
have
it. I
one
think
last.
everything that y'all are mentioning resonates, and it's like exactly what I personally needed to hear. So I appreciate it.
I think there's one thing that you can do too as you're making the decision to make your power move is, and it's something that people forget a lot, is you have to sit in the 5 stages of grief. So we go through the stages of grief when someone passes away. Well, when our relationship ends, it's in essence something is dying. So you still need to sit in that anger, the denial, the bargaining, the sadness. You need to sit in those and sit with any skeletons that you have, the shame, the guilt that everybody else has been talking about. um Sit with those skeletons, talk to them, journal about them, sit in each stage, own each stage, because that allows the death of the old you, the should you, the one that you think you should stay, to kind of pass away, peel away. I'll use the Titanic thing, peel the sticky away. That allows you to do that, which then opens up the space for the new you to emerge. She can't emerge if you are standing in your own way. So you've got to process those grief feelings that you're having of a life lost, whatever life you were building with whatever your partner, whatever you're talking about, whatever life you were building is now passing away, and you need to allow that to happen.
There's so much truth in that, like the fantasy of like the vision of what you thought was. Like there is such real grief in that space. Um, oh, one note that I wanted to come back to, and maybe you could put it in the chat and or if it's quick, Michelle was and then I do need to wrap it up to be mindful of the time that I said was thinking about the number 9 and this being a year of 9. Ah, I saw that fire in your face. Okay. And
You're funny.
completion.
Okay, what is your question?
Well, I just feel like you're going to run with it, so take it.
I've been thinking about it. It's so funny that you say that. I love this. Okay, so numerologically, this 9 year is inviting us to let go of the things we can no longer not see. So if there's a change coming, if there's a pattern, if there is something that's rising that's ready to move and we've been resisting it, ideally this year, you're no longer going to be seeing it the same way. It's going to be in your face like, nope, I got to do something. It doesn't mean you have to move, but not moving is going to create the suffering. So as we move into 2026, we have this brand new year. We've got the ending and the beginning. The graduation is kind of how I feel the 9. It's inviting us into something more, and we can't meet the more if we're holding on to what was. So it's this beautiful reflection all year in all areas of our life that if that part of the relationship or that specific thing, or you not speaking up, or me not speaking up, or me not claiming the money that I want each month, or whatever those things are, the ways that we've been holding ourselves back can no longer not be witnessed. They're kind of in your face. And we're either going to want to see it or we're going to try to close our eyes, but it's also the energy of you can't close your eyes to it. And so it's diving into the shadow. So it's letting yourself really feel what is there. It literally is a grieving. So I love how we bring that around into honoring, having the grace, having the compassion for the parts of us that are no longer, so we can welcome in the side of us, the higher self of us that's ready to shine and rise, if that makes sense. So that's how I see that.
Oh my God, I love that so much. Okay, so full circle here. So it feels like this whole container, like, it feels like the theme is, okay, I love that we wrapped in like the grieving of like once was, and I loved how you shifted the word to honoring. Like honoring what once was and really celebrating, activating. I heard you drop that word in there, setting the intention into what is to become. And I love that, like, the word that keeps coming through is like the power move, like, okay, which move is the next power move that we're taking in our life? And I feel like the power move, I'm just going to be bold here, is the ecstatic self love, because it's you saying, I freaking love myself so much that I'm willing to take this power move and let go of the rest and trust what is. And trust that they'll find their path and you'll find your path. And it's perfect, right? It's perfect. Okay, so as we're going to wrap up, I would love each speaker, if you want to give, like, what is your one nugget to, like, activate and stay true to yourself, and then also offer your free gift. I would love that as our exit, and then I will offer something at the end.
I'll go. Okay. So,
Okay, hold on really quick. I gotta interrupt. So for those of you watching, because you can't really copy off of chat anymore, but if you just click on the link and then we'll open up a new tab, so we'll save it for when the chat ends, and then also there will be an email going out with the links as well. Okay, keep going. Thank
okay,
you.
ask the question one more time, just the first part.
Oh, okay. What is your power move that keeps you true to yourself in your ecstatic self-love version?
Yeah, I'm a very big believer in continuing to deepening the knowing of yourself, the loving of yourself, the ways to which you can experience yourself, and then even deepen that. So for me, this experience of evolving and growing and being on that journey is always about this experience of ourselves when we're in those moments of, I'm still holding on to that thing. I can let go a little bit more and land over here and the queen that's coming into this next being, right? The words, I don't know if I have the words, except that it feels like it's a deepening of what you didn't know before. And when you can honor yourself that much, that love pours out even more. And it, again, comes in through you and out as you. So through you, as you, to all. And it's infectious. And so that's my biggest takeaway from that. And then what I'm offering down below is a free session, 20-minute session, aligned energy session. So we'll take a look at your chart. We'll go into the body, we'll look at what patterns current here ready to move, and you'll have that experience and walk away with that next step that feels oftentimes so far away in whatever area you're at. So I'm going to pop that link down below. Thank you so much, guys.
I'll go next. My takeaway nugget is to feel really good about doing what you want when you want and not concerning yourself with what anybody else is thinking or judging you. And I know it's not the easiest, but when we don't depend on an object or a situation, a place or a person to fill a perceived emptiness, and we allow ourselves to partake in our own creativity, that's when we really have that opportunity to experience ecstatic self-love. And what I've got for you is $50 off of a 1 hour consultation. And on my website, you can also find free courses and my blog and podcast, as well as my books. And that information's all in the chat.
I'll go next. I I think my takeaways are I wrote down, so I'm a paper and pen kind of girl. I wrote down the word worthy when we started. And I think my takeaway nugget is that I am worthy of self-ecstatic or ecstatic self-love. And I need to remember that. And I also am taking away from Michelle that this is a 9 year, this is a completion year. I'm not going to be small for anyone ever again. I'm gonna stand in my power. I'm gonna make my power move. I'm gonna practice my Rocky moves, and I'm gonna hopefully shine a light so other people feel that they can do the same. So that is my takeaways. Um, and then I'm going to offer a free mindset shift workbook. It is the keys. So it's the key to happily ever after. So it's just a tool for your toolbox in finding your own happily ever after, and a free 30-minute consultation. However, I am terrible at technology and my link is not working. So I will send it to Melissa to put in the email because I can't get it to go in the chat. So I'll get it to you.
Okay, so my takeaway is that this stuff is so fun. I think it's so delicious. Like it's as fun to me as sinking my teeth into a ribeye steak at a 5-star steakhouse on a Friday night. Like this shit, it's meant to be fun. So when you think about changing your life, there's all this like, oh, it's so scary and it's so hard. I'm like, no, this is the best. I fucking love this stuff. Like I love ecstatic love. Like I want everyone to feel ecstatic about themselves. And I think that that brings me joy because for so much in my life, I was like, am I crazy? Am I the only one who's like, come on, you guys, like life is supposed to be awesome. Like we gotta love ourselves. And people are like, you're crazy, girl. So I'm just so delighted to know that we are not crazy. We are more than worthy. We really do have everything we need inside. And I've never been more certain of that than now. So thank you for reminding me that we are designed to have everything we want and that we do indeed have access to whatever we need to make it a reality. And also steak is delicious. And sorry if you're a vegetarian, but I'm an O lady. So my blood type, I got to have my meat. I am switching my gift because of some of the things we were talking about tonight. And if Melissa, that messes you up for the email, you can still do the Glow Wild Daily Ritual. But we have been talking about guilt. So I am going to give you, because I feel like it's just something that you should have access to. This is a link to my guilt release workshop. So this is a workshop. This is a workshop I've taught. It's actually $75, and I'm going to give you a code. It is Ecstatic. When you put the code in, it's free. Okay. So take advantage of it. Process some guilt. Free yourself from the shit that's holding you back. Take advantage of it. And if you have questions, reach out to me. Let me know. And when you sign up, you have my email address. So just, connect with me and I'm happy to support you and letting that stuff go.
Oh my God, I love that. Will you do me a favor, Katie, and will you email that to me?
I will. Yeah. Sorry. I was like, I gotta share what's going to actually make a difference in these people's lives. Not this other thing that I have that's also super cool. So please free yourself from some guilt. I will
Oh
help.
my God, I love this. And now I'm like, oh, it makes me want to change because my offer really doesn't match what we've been talking about either, but I don't actually have something that matches what we're talking about, so that's fun. It's fun for me. So I think, okay, so two things. The thing that keeps like grounding in me is the power move. I'm like, okay, what's like every move I make, it's like, what's the power move here? Like that is now my new like inner compass, my new inner dialogue is what's the power move here? And the power, like the inward power, not power over, like power within, right? But I feel like my power move that brings me back to ecstatic love, that meets me where I'm at is, so every morning I do a morning meditation ritual prayer. It's like yoga meets meditation meets prayer to my ancestors. And then afterwards, if I'm not always great about it, but afterwards is I do a dance party with myself in front of my mirror. And I find it more powerful the more naked I am. So I get as naked as I feel, and I pin on this song that jives and resonates. Sometimes it's a slow song, sometimes it's a grieving song, sometimes it's like, I've been really rocking this year Queendom by Malka Russell. Anyone know that song? Because it is going to be your new favorite song. It's Malka and then Russell, Queendom. It's so delicious and it's right up your Shakti alley and your power move. So like, and I just sit in front of it and I just allow myself to fall in love. Like I've got a mama belly and I just imagine like loving that piece of myself where it's like all the flaws, all the greatness. And I find my powerhouse when I'm in that space. Like I see my hips move, I see my body shake, and it's how I fall more in love with myself every day. And my gift today is actually, so I am offering a 3-week workshop. It's every Tuesday. It's 3 Tuesday nights in a row, February 25th through March 11th, and it's Intuitive Heart. And what it's all about is learning how to navigate and find your own intuition and using that as your own inner compass. And it's a week apart each week so that you have the time to explore the intuition and come back and then we connect. The class is normally $90, and for today I'm offering it at $33. So I'll put that in the chat here. And it will also come out. And so this is for you to anchor in your northern compass and find your inner guidance, your North Star. And so with that, I want to thank our guests, Dolores, Loli, and Sarah, who is on here. And thank you to each of our leaders that showed up today. And thank you for being a brave space that creates a sacred space. And may we all find our power move, our yes to our door, and activate our intentions and our box-free, uncaged, limitless life. Thank you. And you're more than welcome to come off mute if anyone wants to say anything before we leave.
Thank you for having us. This was
I'm
awesome.
sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, so sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I just was to say thank you. I wish I had you, all of you, 30 years ago when I was about to make my power move. It would be so helpful, but I'm glad to hear it now and know that I did the right thing. It was very difficult because back then there was no a lot of, women stepping and taking their power back. So I had to go through a lot, but I am just happy to see that women are taking their place and they're being brave and they have the courage to do things and to take, their life in their hands. So thank you so much. Listening to you was very helpful, and I am so glad that I was here tonight. Thank you all.
Thank you. And Dolores, I think it would be great for you and Loli to have a little conversation around how old you were when you had to make that power move and how old you are now, because there's definitely some lineal patterning happening there. So I think it'd be really great to kind of break through it together, because usually it's like each generation breaks another layer off for the past, but how, like, that's the power move, is to like, how would you have done it then? How would you have done it now? And what do you wish for me?
Right.
And what would I have wished for you back then? Like, I think, so good right there. It's so good. Yeah.
I wish I had that support and that, parents supporting it that way, they just had to agree, but they were not so sure that I had to make that move. So it was hard, but now with Loli it's different because I went through that and I can understand her point of view and where she's coming from and what she really wants. So I am totally supportive of her. And I think you're right, Melissa. And we have been talking and talking about the differences about then and now. So totally in support of her. I just want her to to be a powerful woman, and so for her daughter to have that kind of mom.
Mm, I love that. Thank you, Dolores.
You're welcome. Thank you, guys.
Mhm.
Dolores, I love the wisdom that you have because you went through what you went through and because it's been the time that it's been. You have a perspective that you can't purchase. And so to share that is so beautiful. And it's just been a beautiful time with all of you tonight. So it's a good way to spend an evening for sure.
Thank you.
I want to
Okay.
thank you, Melissa, for inviting us.
Mm. Yeah, I appreciate it. I'm grateful to be here with each of you and to be expanded by your wisdom. Yeah, thank you. All right, ladies. Well, I thank you for coming here. And Loli and Dolores, may you both have a most magical, miracle infused life.
Sure will. Likewise to all of you. Thank you again so much. And I will definitely be reaching out to each one of you and appreciate the gift that you all shared.
Get yourself some boxing gloves, girl. I don't know
I'm
why.
gonna get it.
I don't know.
I'm gonna
Poor
get it.
Melissa just met me last week, and I was like, I don't know what happened to me. I'm sorry. All of a sudden, I'm like, let's go. I don't know. It's the 9 years. So thank you for putting up and enjoying with me the spirit of transformation. I truly enjoyed being with you all. Very
Likewise.
fun.
Thank you.
Sleep well.
You too. Thank you. Um, okay. And then I did this thing. All right. Stop recording. Whew. Okay.
Oh, look, I'm still here.
You're still here. I
So-
got to go ahead.
And you're in Vero, which is up the coast, and I just want to give you some love with what's happening.
Yeah, thank you. It's I'm
I
not
mean, you know,
surprised.
you traveled far, and if there's anything I can do to be of support, you know, here I am.
Thank you. I think the interesting thing is it's like I'm still here for like 4 more days. And it's not really like a situation where I can bring it up and it goes over well. It's like I bring it up and it's extremely volatile. So it's almost like the
So-
best way out.
So you just arrived and found out? I mean,
I've been here for like 3 or 4 days. I got in Friday morning and it's been off the whole time I've been here. And then I just found some proof. He doesn't know I found proof, but I just found,
oh, okay.
but I mean, the proof has been his way of being the entire, the way he's been
Probably
playing.
there's probably layers of it. But
Yeah, and he's
are
like,
you at least near the beach? I mean, you look like you're tan, so
oh, I'm like super tan. Yeah, we're both water babies, so we've been hanging out. But yeah, it's so
where did you fly into here in Florida?
Orlando.
Oh, you went to Orlando.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I have Bobby here. Did you guys ever connect?
I mean, once, I said something, he said something, that was that. So, I left the ball in his court. I don't chase. I'm too
Yeah.
old. I'm way too old to be chasing.
Yeah. Yeah. That's it. And he might have a girlfriend. I don't ever know with him.
I mean, even just a friend or a colleague, in the same state. But am I surprised? Floridians, no, I'm not
Yeah, yeah.
at all. But you did get to spend some time with him?
No, I haven't met up with him yet, but I have him here and then like in Vero Beach, and then my cousin lives like 20 minutes away. I haven't
Oh, okay.
driven here yet. But honestly, I just honestly think like being quiet and playing small is my power move until I get home. Where then I can,
Are you walking distance to the beach or do you have to drive there? Ah, okay. Well, at least it's been gorgeous.
yeah, and he's got a boat, so we've been hanging out on there.
Oh, you can't beat that.
Yeah, it's been nice. There's been lots of comments about my weight, so that hasn't been great. But
What?
yeah, like he made me get on a scale the other day. He's so adamant.
No.
Yeah. And
Okay,
then
that's just wrong.
today, you know what he said? He was like, "So, how much do you think you should weigh for your height?"
I'm
And then he was
sorry.
like, and he's like, "Oh, so you're like considered obese. You're like 30 pounds past what you should be."
Is he in great shape?
He just lost weight like within a year, but he was like, I don't know, heavier. I mean, he wasn't huge. I've never seen him huge, but he's probably at one point was probably 50 overweight, over whatever. But I'm like, I
How
don't
old
even
is
know
this
why this
guy?
is 51. I'm like, I
Okay,
don't even know why this is a conversation.
no. I mean, there's just so much.
There, so much there, right?
No, thank you. I mean, that's just ick. Oh,
Yeah,
Melissa, I know you were really looking forward to this trip.
yeah, I definitely have been like he's that love that you just like can't let go of, even though it's not
How
good.
how long have you been connected?
Like 3 years.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
And so
Off and on
and
3 years.
you've seen each other before, yeah?
Oh yeah, we've dated for like off and on for 3 years. I always break up with him because he says asshole shit, and then I break up, and then we get back together. And then he was like, I want you to come out here. And then the whole time there's like another woman in the back where I'm like, so.
Wow. He sounds like somebody who he sounds a bit Peter Pan to me. You
What do you mean?
know, not grown up.
Oh yeah. No, yeah. That's very accurate. Yeah, no.
You know, and I think the reason why you've come back is because you need closure
Yeah, it
and
is.
to say that's enough.
Yeah.
Because if you've let him be abusive multiple times, then you're overcompensating for his bad behavior, which
Mm,
is immature because he's known you long enough. I mean, I was imagining this was a newer relationship. I didn't realize you had dated, you had seen each other in the past. I just find it really immature and in poor taste.
yeah.
And
Well, and like
yeah.
he moved back in with his like parents for a multitude of reasons, but they're also like 80 and like getting older and
Yeah,
stuff.
but that's still Peter Pan. I mean,
Yeah.
I moved to Florida to be with my mother and I bought a house.
Yeah.
I didn't move and I offered her to move into my house, but she didn't want to. So,
Mm,
I mean, that's how an adult handles it.
yeah.
I get it though in the economy, moving into your parents' house, maybe their house is nice and has enough space, but
Well,
I
just
mean,
even
I knew Peter Pan right away. Right away.
well, and even like the way he communicates with them, I'm like, okay. I'm like I think I need like just to see that. I'm like, okay, it's not just me. Like
Mm-mm.
even though I knew that, but just to like see it, and I'm like, and they're like so sweet. They're so
Oh,
nice, but it's like, I mean, I can see where they get some of it, and then I can see where he gets some of his personality, but there's also, it's that overcompensation. Like, he says asshole things, and you can't really argue back because it's so volatile. So you just have to, like, shut up and walk the other way?
wow. You don't deserve that,
I
Melissa.
know. I know. So it's like me coming back to my, like, it's like whenever I get strong enough, I get my fire back, then I go back to him. And I'm like, why do I keep going back? It's like I have to leave him because I get so weak. And then I get strong enough, and then I go, and I'm like, okay, I'm strong enough, I can go back now. And I'm like,
I
why do
think
I?
there's a little element of I can fix it.
Yeah,
I can heal it.
or I can
But you
understand
know
it.
what? It's not your responsibility
Mm-mm.
because he's not asking. And there's that true nature. If that's his tiger stripes or zebra stripes, you know, or
That landed
elephants.
so hard. I almost started crying when you said that. I'm like, His stripes are never
It's
going
okay.
to change.
Let
They're
the
never
tears
going to
out.
change.
It's
I know.
okay. Let the tears. I'm here to support you and give you
I'm like,
love.
they're never going to change. Like, he's going to be like that no matter like what I do, no matter how beautiful I am, no matter how good I am, no matter how sweet or how loving.
You're a gorgeous woman. You are a gorgeous woman with a beautiful body and a beautiful, beautiful personality and so much love. It's so, let it out, sister. Let it out. I'm here to hold the space for you. You've been holding it in all night. God bless you. You ran this whole thing with all of this, like right here in your chest. You're powerful.
I just like wish like he could see it and like honor it and like respect it and like value it and like cherish it, just like love it, you know?
Yeah, well, it's his loss. It's his loss because you know what? He doesn't love himself. Because if he's judging and shoulding, dang, he has no bit. Then what is his low self-esteem issue? I'd like to smack him on the wrist, or maybe, I mean, that angers me. It does. It angers me because it's just so piss poor.
And dude, and the other day he like asked me to like send him tarot cards, like do pull cards for him, and I did, and he like sent them to this other person. Like,
What?
oh, I just got cards pulled for me, and I'm like, those were fucking from me. Like,
Wow. There's some nice hotels there. I'm just saying. And if you need somebody to drive to the airport, I have a nice driver.
oh, thank you.
Seriously, like I used to read cards at a hotel up there, which had a really nice beach. It's owned by Gloria Stefan. It's a nice
Oh,
boutique hotel, and they've got a couple restaurants, one like more kind of grill and one more high end, and it's got a beautiful little beach. So if you get fed up, you let me know
thank you.
and you move over there because screw that, you know. I mean, you're enduring pain.
Yeah, my nervous system has been like this, like the whole time I've been here. You know,
Oh,
where
sweetie.
I'm just like, okay, just like, yes, please, thank you. That's so sweet. Like, tip.
Has he done something nice or?
Well, I mean, he's like a love bomber. So, like, he'll do something asshole and then he'll be like, well, let's go take you shopping.
Yeah, but that's passive aggressive
Yeah.
and narcissistic.
And,
If I
and
throw some labels around.
yeah.
Well, did he buy you something you wanted?
Yeah. I think it's just like, I think the struggle is it's like, why do I like keep choosing this? You know, like, why do I keep wanting to be here? And that's like the piece that I think is the most fucking annoying.
Well, there's attributes that you really like,
Yeah, it's
and you see the
tough.
beauty in there and you see the possibility. And that's where 99.9 of my female clients in this position are, that they see the fixer upper. It's not your job. That person has to look in the mirror and say, I'm the one who needs repair.
Yeah.
Because one of my favorite, I love